Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this very special report. Today, we are fighting blue chickens. Let me introduce my co-warriors in this particular battle today, of course. The one and only Clif High. You can find him on Twitter at Clif_High and also on his Substack. Clif, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
Doing fine. Thanks much.
Clif, you already made the Newsweek this week. I think that's very impressive. We'll get into that in just a moment. It appears
it's a step down.
We'll get into that in just a moment. Friends, also, please join me in welcoming his first time here to the show, Mr. Jordan SATHER. You can find him at Jordan SATHER here on Rumble, and you can find his work also here on Amazon with the Dark Alliance, the inside story of the Cosmic Con, and you can find him on Twitter also at Jordan SATHER. Jordan, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Appreciate you having me on. It's an honor. Thank you, guys.
Excited to have you on. Jordan, it's your first time on the show. Let's start here. How did you get tangled into this whole blue chicken cult thing? Let's take the first 2 or 3 minutes there to explain that to the audience members. We are currently triple casting on YouTube, X, and Rumble. We're going to move the feeds over here in just a couple of minutes, guys, if you're watching us. But today we're discussing the decoding the UFO disclosure narrative of control. And in order to do that, we're going to go in the back. We're going to look at past tactics that have been used against our community. We're going to get into the present now, this whole alien invasion scenario, and then eventually into all roads leading into zero-point technology. So let's set the stage, Jordan. How are you involved in all of this stuff?
Cool. So it appears that some people, looking at the comments from your posts about this show the past couple of days, some people still don't realize that I haven't worked with Corey or David for going on 5 years now. So it's been a long time. I've been away from those guys and, in fact, working to expose a lot of the crap I found with them. But getting into some of the backstory and how I got to working with them, I guess we can go back to when I started getting red pilled or waking up to everything in the world, probably about 12, 13 years ago when I was in my early 20s. And back then, there wasn't much on social media to connect with people about or groups like there is now. So I was pretty lost. I was pretty alone. I was waking up to a bunch of different things, big pharma, Federal Reserve, deep state, and UFO stuff. I came across David Wilcock's work around 2011, 2012, and I got caught up with the hopium. That was back when he was still predicting mass arrests coming next week, and he had all his insiders and stuff, and his quote-unquote positive messages roped me in. So I started following him, and a couple of years later, he brought out one of his insiders that we know now as Corey Goode. And then come about early 2017, I got inspired to start sharing my own experiences and information and investigations on social media. I started a YouTube channel in January 2017 called Destroying the Illusion, where I would talk about mainly 3 subjects: health stuff, UFO reporting, and some political issues. And the channel grew, I guess it grew pretty quick. I got about 10, 20,000 subscribers within a few months. And then I got contacted by Corey Goode's business partner at the time, Roger. And he invited me to come out to the Contact in the Desert UFO conference in June 2017 to meet the team, meet Corey. And I went, and then I started working with those guys. And soon after, we began work on the Above Majestic documentary, which, let me just say, if I could totally redo that film, I would, and just cut out everything Corey and David said. But I still think there's some good parts of that film, although since Corey Goode doesn't like to pay anybody royalties, I would suggest go finding it on Rumble or BitChute for free and watching it instead of paying for $10 on Amazon. So I worked with Corey and David for a couple of years, and going around to their events and going to Corey's house and working on a variety of projects. It was about 2019, mid-end 2019, where I started really figuring out their BS and that happened in a few different ways. Number one, I actually went to meet 2 of Corey and David's so-called Alliance insiders, and it was weird. I can get in that story later, but it was weird. I was not sold on it. So there was that. Also saw a bunch of the lawsuits and business BS behind the scenes starting to take shape, and that was really weird. And then also I started waking up to their BS narratives, the clickbait that they would promote on their YouTube videos and on social media publicly. And especially at the beginning of 2020 when the COVID thing hit and they started doing a bunch of live streams. I remember David Wilcock doing live streams on his YouTube channel, just saying the most outright wrong things that takes 60 seconds to debunk, but he would do these long videos on outright wrong information and then plugging his $333 course multiple times in his live stream. And his whole live stream was just based on wrong information. So I guess I finally, cleared my eyes, saw the griftiness, saw all the lawfare that they love to do, and just said bye.
Okay, very good. I know Clif is baking pies. I think he's going to be right back here in just a second. We're going to have, I think, 2 of these interruptions here during the show, so stand by with us, guys. Now, you kind of explain here the pivot point, but for the audience members, can you give an example of what perhaps really said to you, okay, I need to get out of this? Because once you're in and you're involved and you've been in there for so many years and you're part of this narrative, and then you're realizing, I'm going to have to eat crow. I'm going to have to do a mea culpa. And when you're a public figure, that's not easy. What was that critical moment where you said, this far, no further, I have to say what I have to say? What was that?
One of those was all the lawsuits Corey was waging.
Okay.
Clif knows very well about that.
Yeah.
But I don't even know how many lawsuits Corey's waged now. There's 5, 6 different people or companies that he's been trying to sue. And, one of those lawsuits was involved in the funds for the movies. And, I was slated to get 15% of Above Majestic royalties. And let me just say, when Leon Isaac Kennedy was running things, another one of Corey's former business partners, when Leon was running things, everything went smooth. But as soon as Corey tried to pull a power play, and from what I understand, Corey worked with the distribution company 1091 to set up his own personal account to get all the movie royalties dumped into. And once that happened, nothing was getting paid out. So I don't even know how much money I got screwed over.
Okay, let me play a clip here from a video I produced 4.5 years ago with Clif High. It's just a few seconds here, but I wanted to put this on the record because at that time, Clif and I were talking about you. So let me just play this clip for the record, and then we'll continue here with the conversation.
All right, let's do it.
About one of Corey's kids, and there are many of those who were in that group who have now since jumped ship. And this last particular one was one that Clif had some issues with in the past, who is now trying to do, I believe, the right thing. And I want to put it there because I do believe at that point when you made that move, 1, it was very courageous of you, and 2, you didn't have it easy because as soon as you stepped out of that group, you were facing 2 flanks of attacks. You were receiving the public who said, hey, Jordan, you used to say this, now you've changed your mind, we're angry at you. And then you had this other group also saying, hey, you were part of the team, now you're not, so definitely you're part of the Dark Alliance. Yeah. So you were going through some really hard times there. Clif, let me have you chime in because leading up to this video in 2020 that you and I produced, where we're giving the benefit of the doubt to Jordan and other people here to come out and speak out about these tactics that were being played against the public. You had spent already a year and a half here nagging at the heels of Jordan, asking him to wake up and to look at everything that was happening. What was your pivot point here to perhaps going from Jordan being a persona non grata to, hey, we need to give this guy a second look here. He's trying to do the right thing. Explain that process for you, Clif.
I always thought that Jordan was misplaced in this, okay? I mean, he stands as an honorable guy. You just see that about him, right? Confused, young, stupid, ignorant. We're all there, right? But not dishonorable. And there was no intention on his part to be dishonorable. He was not broadcasting that out in his aura the way Corey is. So it was always a question to me was, I was really curious, all right? I like people's minds, and I like thinking about how people think. And so I was always intrigued to wonder what was that one pivot point in his mind upon which the whole Corey edifice rested. And if I could, and you know, this is evil of me, this is manipulative. I wanted to know, could I find that one pivot point and remove it? And if so, would universe cooperate by opening his eyes, right? And so I was doing kind of a stupid initiation process with him. And it's difficult doing it online because you necessarily have the time lag and all of this kind of thing, right? So initiation in the presence of someone who is trying to do it goes very much faster than when you're trying to do it over the internet. But I'm very gratified that I was quite correct in my assessment. I'm usually pretty good about judging a person's character. So I'm working, I'm dying of cancer, 2017, it got really bad. I had to really rush all of my energy into getting moved here so that my wife would not suffer the conditions we had there because I knew I was dying. And I knew I was likely dying within a year. I died in July of 2018. And so in that last year, I was not really paying a lot of attention to everything that was going on. And sort of Corey and David just sort of bubbled up. Now, I'd already formed my opinion of David back in 1994 or 5. Okay, I had contact with him back then. But I didn't know this Corey guy from, you know, what was going on. But instantly I saw him and I thought, this guy is lying. I can tell he is lying because of my experience. So I came across this statement or a video statement where I think it was probably taken from Gaia, where he's talking about these space wars and battles and, you know, all of that kind of shit. I never watched the show. I have no knowledge of the details of any of that. I've only seen little tiny clips. But I came across this little clip and I thought, no, this guy's flat out lying. I can tell this because he's not been changed by the events he's describing. Okay, it doesn't show in his face, it's not in his mannerisms, it's not in his aura at all. Everyone that so my dad trained paratroopers for the US Army, right? He trained companies. So I've been around for the first 17 years of my life, people that were training and then going off to places like Vietnam and other areas where they would face combat. And I saw these people coming back. Everybody came back changed, okay? And you could see it in their face. And bear in mind, we're not talking 4 years like World War II. We're talking 11-month tours in country in Vietnam. So I would see these guys leave. I would know them because I'd go hang out with them, play basketball and stuff, that sort of thing. And then I'd see them come back and they were not the same individuals at all. And so Corey does not have those scars on his soul for that express in your face for participating in death at that level, okay? And so I knew that it was bullshit. And at that point, it was like, I just started calling him out on it.
Right. Now, you got a lot of flack for that because there was a lot of people like me who wanted to believe, right? We were all born and grew up on the X-Files and we wanted to get into this subject matter. And to some extent, Gaia was filling that void. It was a highly produced show and it was very evocative and provocative.
Two things I need to bring up real quick.
Yeah.
David is really good. Okay. David is a quality carny salesperson. He has no follow through. But in that initial sales effort, when you first come across him, his language flows. And so I put nothing on Jordan there for falling for the bullshit with David, right?
Right.
And then also we have to acknowledge that Jay Widener is very skilled. And so I think a lot of that Corey piggybacked on Widener's skill.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to follow along with us here today, I created a notes page because we have a lot of material that we're going to be sharing with you during this episode. And if you're looking for the links for the depositions to some of these documentaries, past episodes, this is the place to be. So you want to go to beyondmystic.net/blue chickens. There again, you'll see all the links for the episodes here today.
Now, are you still on YouTube?
Yeah, let's disconnect from YouTube. So guys, let me go back here and bring you the link into the live chat here for you guys watching on YouTube. Please come and join us here on Rumble or on X for the full no holds barred conversation. So let's remove